I had to read it twice to make sure it was real. We all know Cardi can get a little heated, but this is next level. Forget the stage. Forget the club. We are talking about a full-blown, alleged throwdown at a doctor's office. Yes, you heard me right. A security guard named Emani Ellis is on the stand right now in a trial giving testimony about a nasty brawl that allegedly went down in 2018. She's claiming Cardi spit on her, slashed her face with her famous fingernails, and a whole lot more. This story has more twists and turns than a daytime soap opera. So buckle up because we are about to dissect every single allegation, look at all the evidence, and try to figure out what really happened in that Beverly Hills medical building. Let's get messy. Alright, let's get right into the thick of it. Cardi B is currently in a civil trial in Los Angeles, and the testimony coming out of this courtroom is just wow. A woman, a former security guard named Emani Ellis, has taken the stand and is painting a very, very chaotic picture of an encounter she had with Cardi back in 2018. Now, get the scene. This isn't some backstage brawl or a fight at a nightclub. This whole alleged incident took place in a Beverly Hills medical building, specifically at an obstetrician's office. And to add another layer to this already dramatic cake, Cardi was 4 months pregnant with Kulture at the time. 4 months pregnant at her OBGYN, and we're talking about a physical altercation. So, according to Emani Ellis' testimony, she was working her security job when Cardi B steps out of an elevator. Ellis, apparently a fan at the time, gets a little starstruck and says something like, "Wow, that's Cardi B." An innocent enough reaction, right? You see a massive celebrity, you get a little excited. Well, apparently that was the absolute wrong thing to do. At this point in 2018, Cardi's pregnancy was not public knowledge. She was trying to keep it under wraps, away from the tabloids. So when she hears the security guard say her name, she allegedly goes from 0 to 100 real quick. Ellis testified that Cardi immediately turned around and got in her face, yelling, "Why the you telling people that you see me?" Can you just imagine the tension? Ellis claimed she tried to de-escalate, telling Cardi she hadn't told anyone. But she said the rapper was just extremely upset. And then the allegations just get more and more intense. Ellis claims on the stand that Cardi B started belittling her, body shaming her, and calling her racist names. She testified that Cardi said things like, you fatter, I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm gonna get you fired. That's why you do security. Then to top it all off, Ellis alleges that Cardi spit on her. Spit on a security guard who is just trying to do her job. The disrespect. But we're not done. Oh no, we are far from done. The most cinematic and honestly the most Cardi B part of this whole alleged fight involves her signature inches-long fingernails. Ellis testified that while Cardi took a swing at her and missed, she did manage to slash her on the face with her nails. She even estimated the nails were about 2 to 3 inches long at the time. Ellis claims the cut was so bad that she eventually had to undergo plastic surgery to fix it. That is insane. She is now suing Cardi for assault and battery. This is not just some verbal spat. We are talking about accusations of serious physical harm. Now, while all this explosive testimony is happening, where is Cardi? She's sitting right there in the courtroom, looking, according to reports, composed in a professional black blazer and a short hairdo, surrounded by her legal team. The duality of it all. On the stand, you have a woman describing this violent, chaotic scene, and at the defense table, you have Cardi looking like she's about to close a business deal. What a scene! Of course, there are two sides to every story, and Cardi's legal team is painting a very different picture. Her lawyer, Peter Anderson, argued to the jury that Ellis was actually the aggressor. He described Cardi, pregnant for the first time, being confronted by a woman who he described as being 240 to 250 pounds, wearing black military boots, hovering over her and screaming. The defense claims Ellis was the one who yelled, "I will FK your scene up," and that someone had to intervene and drag Ellis away. They are essentially arguing that Cardi was in fear for her and her unborn baby's safety. When reporters asked Cardi about it outside the courthouse, she flat out denied it, saying she never touched Ellis and that the whole lawsuit is just a shakedown for money. This isn't just a simple case of he said, she said. There are some interesting details. For instance, Ellis initially claimed Cardi used her celebrity status to get her fired. However, on the stand, she retracted that part of the claim, testifying that she was actually terminated for a HIPAA violation for violating Cardi's privacy. That lines up with what the medical building's rep said back in 2020, stating that Cardi's own doctor felt the guard had violated her privacy. So, that part of the story seems to have an explanation that doesn't directly involve Cardi demanding her termination. Cardi's lawyers have also been grilling Ellis on the stand about inconsistencies between her initial complaint and her testimony, specifically about the exact location of the cut on her face and whether she was actually using her phone. They're working hard to poke holes in her story. But let's be real for a second. We have to look at a bigger picture. Is this type of behavior out of character for Cardi B? Let's take a stroll down memory lane, shall we? This is hardly her first time dealing with legal issues over her temper. Later that same year, in October 2018, Cardi had to turn herself into the police over a massive dispute at a New York strip club. The whole thing allegedly started because Cardi believed one of the bartenders, a woman named Jade, had slept with her husband, Offset. According to the accusations, Cardi and her crew started throwing chairs, bottles, and even hookah pipes. This wasn't a small argument, it was a full-on brawl. After a lot of back and forth in the legal system, with Cardi initially rejecting a plea deal, she eventually pleaded guilty to 2 misdemeanors in September 2022. She managed to avoid jail time and was sentenced to 15 days of community service. In a statement, she said, "Part of growing up and maturing is being accountable for your actions." It seems like accountability is a recurring theme here. And who could forget the great microphone toss of 2023? Cardi was performing in Las Vegas, and she actually encouraged the audience to splash a little water on her because it was so hot. Well, one concert goer took it a little too far and threw a whole drink with ice right in her face. Cardi's reaction? Instantaneous! She wound up and launched her microphone into the crowd like a quarterback throwing a Hail Mary. The mic hit the person who threw the drink, and then allegedly bounced and hit another person. Initially, she was a suspect in a battery investigation, but the police ultimately closed the case due to insufficient evidence and no charges were filed. However, a woman identified as Jane Doe has since filed a civil lawsuit for assault, battery, and negligence over that incident, claiming it caused her severe emotional distress and physical injury. Cardi's lawyer has called that lawsuit an opportunistic money grab. So when you put the doctor's office incident into context with the strip club brawl and the microphone yeet, you start to see a pattern of, let's call it, very strong reactions to perceived disrespect. Cardi is not someone who backs down from a confrontation. She's built her entire brand on being unapologetically herself. And that includes her temper. Her upcoming album is even titled Am I the Drama, which feels incredibly fitting right now. So what are we to believe? Do we have a security guard who was just doing her job and got a little starstruck, only to be met with a violent, unhinged attack from a pregnant superstar? Or do we have an overzealous fan who violated a celebrity's privacy at a sensitive moment, became aggressive, and is now trying to cash in? The truth is probably buried somewhere in the middle of all that drama. What I find most fascinating is the environment. An OBGYN's office is supposed to be a calm, safe space. And here we have allegations of spitting, screaming, and slashing. It's the ultimate clash of worlds. And you know what? The jury is the one who has to sift through all of this and decide. I, for one, will be perched and ready for every update. And that is the absolute mountain of drama surrounding Cardi B right now. My head is spinning. Between the courtroom testimony, the defense's arguments, and her history of public brawls, it is a lot to take in. But now I have to throw it to you guys. What do you think? Are you siding with Emani Ellis, the security guard? Do you believe Cardi B was the aggressor? Or do you think Cardi's legal team is right and she was just a pregnant woman defending herself? Let me know every single one of your thoughts down in the comments. This is one of those stories where everyone is going to have a strong opinion. As always, if you enjoyed this deep dive, please give this video a huge thumbs up, subscribe to Extra Hot Topics so you don't miss a single drop of tea, and ring that notification bell. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Stay messy, and I'll see you in the next video.